Hey community, welcome to Speak Up, Light Up. As you know, our guests are industry celebrities, successful entrepreneurs, thought leaders from all over the world, and this podcast is all about growth, career and business expansion, personal development, spiritual awakening, just providing all necessary tools to be able to make your vision come true. I'm your host, Valerie Kim. Before jumping into this episode, I just want to remind you that we've launched our crowdfunding campaign to create a groundbreaking documentary series, Speak Up, that unite women from all over the world to change the narrative about women's power, abilities, and place in this world. We're impacting the future of the next generation of women, paving the way for a world where women are truly equal, free, and safe to self-express themselves, succeed and live life based on our own terms. If you truly support real diversity, inclusion, unity, and freedom, women empowerment, please add your contribution to this life-changing project. In return, you have a variety of rewards to choose from: digital products, merchandise, events, publicity. Check the link in the description box, become part of the community, find like-minded people, be part of this space where you can really feel yourself, be yourself, being able to speak up, self-express, and light up others. So I have a very extraordinary guest today, and I'm looking forward to this conversation because this is going to be something special. And I know there are some people who have been listening to this podcast since I think season 1, but if you just found it, I need to say our podcast is very diverse in terms of bringing successful entrepreneurs from different parts of the world, but also from different industries. And today we have very spiritual warrior, entrepreneur, lighthouse who is going to share how is actually one very important part of how to start shining in this world, living this fulfilled life, build this wealth, but at the same time just having this inner peace because you're so happy and proud to be who you are. This episode together with Billy Lu Fong, I don't know if I pronounced it right. So she's a 10-year plus expert providing mind-blowing quantum speed life and business makeovers to conscious professional CEOs and entrepreneurs, visionaries worldwide. Billy's proven success to master a system combined with her quantum metaphysics abilities and described as breathtaking. We're going to experience it today, pretty mature. This unique combination is the recipe for her successful co-creations. So let's co-create having this breakthrough experience with Billy. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. And sorry that the intro there was a little bit wordy.
It is, but I think it's always interesting to, have this different bias.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invite. And I'm really, really happy to be here. Very excited before, actually. And I've done a few podcasts, but this one, I don't know, I just felt extra excited about. I believe the theme today was going to be why we don't have to fit in.
Exactly. That's one of the things when you you want to live free, because very often we speak a lot about success, how to build this, I don't know, multi-figures business. And there are a lot of people I know, they succeeded, they have it all, but they're not fulfilled. They still have this inner insecurities, or, they're not free to self-express themselves. And even they are trying to fit in. And it was interesting that we were producing a documentary, Unspoken Truth, and there were so many people excited and commenting. There was one of the comments that I find it's very strange that you are trying to say people stop fitting in when the only thing you want is to actually fit in, be accepted, be loved. So yeah, let's talk about this. But first of all, You see unseen, you read the fields, you like feel more than normally people probably allow themselves to feel. And I do believe that every single of us can channel things. We just probably forgot about that. Some even consider it weird. How did your how did you reconnect with your natural abilities and gifts?
Yeah, first of all, I was feeling about this about 30 minutes before we began, the fitting in. And I was going to start with, oh, I've never fitted in, da da da. I'm actually one of those that has done quite the opposite. And then I was like, hold on, Billy, have a little look at your life. Because there were times, basically by hiding who I was for 36 years, I was fitting into something. I was fitting into what was acceptable, not to be. I didn't mind being called weird. I've always been called weird and funny. Oh, she's strange, she's unusual, she's creative. That didn't bother me. But the fact that I did not express these abilities that, I mean, they're for me more than anyone else. It's really beautiful to
Mm.
accept who you are and to feel who you are. But it is a journey. But just to start with, to begin with, I was actually raised by a blind woman. So already I'm not fitting in. I'm a little brown kid in London, raised by an old lady. I mean, she was my age then when I think back, well, nearly my age. She was about 56 when she took me in. And there's me walking, if you imagine this scene, there's me walking down the road with a lady of 56, brown, untamed hair, a Labrador dog, and this woman would take me to school. This was my mum, my dad, my everything. So already we didn't fit in. We were weird. So I kind of got used to it. I didn't have friends around. I didn't have normal play dates. My life experience came from listening to adults, being around adults. And the most beautiful thing when I look back and reflect is being raised by a person who's blind. What she actually did was teach me to see without my eyes, or at least I say teach me. These gifts were already in there. I was already astral traveling. I could see through humans. I say two, but I was probably about one. So these gifts were already there. However, the environment in which I was raised enabled me to amplify them. So that was the beginning of the journey. Every child can see. Every one of us is telepathic. Every one of us has these quantum abilities. Absolutely. And if you're a human being and you have a brain and a heart, you have these abilities. You can download the universe. The problem is, societal wise, although it's changing, it is changing, Valerie, isn't it? You've seen it change. We are taught, as my grandma said to me in 1975, shh, don't tell anyone what you can see and what you do. They're going to be frightened. They won't understand. So that's the first message. Nowadays, you may see people raise their eyebrows or be more frightened when you express anything that's metaphysical outside the basic mind. However, even the most, a lot of my clients have this word skeptisk in Norwegian. Even the most skeptical people know there's more.
Yeah.
And I love it when you see a little glint in their eye. But basically, not to diverse, the journey took a long road. I would have downloads, dreams. I lived a regular life. I was going to be an academic. I believed I could help people by being a existential psychoanalytical psychotherapist and Dr. Lu Feng, and I was trajectorying on that journey. However, there was always this little whisper, like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit, Billy. You are bullshitting yourself. I'd be like, no, I basically lived in my mind, like unfortunately, a lot of people do, and not in my heart. And I took a long journey. I was 33. I was on a yacht trip in Sardinia with a boyfriend, living the London life, sitting there on the boat. We were with his children that he had from his marriage. And I was just annoyed with him. And I sat at the front of this boat, this lovely yacht, actually. And I was sitting there moaning in my head, I don't like this, blah, 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 blah. The normal things. I was 33. I don't like this. I don't know what I'm doing with him. I don't know what's the point. I'm not enjoying this holiday. And this yabbing, which was 24/7. And then suddenly, nothing happened. It went silent for a second. And then all I heard was, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. And there was a part of me observing this, like, saying, what the beep, beep, beep is going on? Like, what the? But I actually couldn't even speak those words inside. It was just a record. And that was the moment. That was where everything changed. And it wasn't that I don't believe I made a conscious decision. For 24 hours, that sentence wouldn't stop. Boyfriend asked if he should drive me to the doctors or the hospital. What was wrong with me? Something was strange. And I'm living this pretend regular life for 4 years, right? Regular life. And then this happens. And basically within 6 weeks, I was on a plane with a rucksack filled with things I didn't need, going on this again. We didn't have guides and coaches and books. I just had these downloads of what I was supposed to do. My only confusion was where I was supposed to go. So I was just like, okay, I head for Guatemala. And off I went. And the journey started there of changing every single bit of my life. But I did it the hard way. And I believe so that others don't have to, really. And I mean the hard way, Valerie.
Wow, what a story. I don't know if I want to go deeper into like hard way, but I just can imagine. And sometimes when you meant to tap into specific facet of yourself, life pushes you. When you have built up this resistance, or you say I was living in this bullshit, and most of us are living in this bullshit. Sometimes the universe pushes us out of this, and you just have to face it. Doesn't matter if we do feel like we are not ready and prepared, but actually we are very gently guided. Either we meet the right people at a specific time, or we find the right places. So it's all about when this, it's also from my experience, when this waves of craziness coming, it's not about going against this, because you're not going to win. It's just really surrender and start listening to yourself. I don't know the better way. I think when we come to this planet, one of the contracts we kind of sign is that we really forget who we are. And when we're here, we're trying to fit in terms of like, doesn't matter. It can be relationships, it can be some places, it can be work and job. That's where so many people are dissatisfied. And this is like a perfect target for people who want to manipulate and control. So what are the most, important fundamentals to start breaking this pattern of disconnection with yourself and really tuning in into your truth to start being this creator you're meant to be?
The first thing, can I just do a little caveat there on, I love what you said. I used to describe it as giving the heaven and earth analogy. I'm not religious, however, that's been a massive theme in my world, but the heaven and earth analogy. So we're up there, let's imagine we're up there in the fluffy clouds and we're looking down. I say we're just this energy,
soul, spirits.
Just a spirit and this energy. But even that is a vague concept. So again, every time even I say something, I would also challenge it. So I like to see both sides of everything, because remember, I was once the academic who thought all this was bullshit. So I have to challenge it. So we're up there in the fluffy clouds and we're looking down, and God, a lady, a goddess, whoever you like, Jesus, or somebody in their religious concepts here, comes along with this piece of paper, A4, and they come up to you and they say, oh, right, hello, morning. Like, morning. And they say, oh, when you were down there last time, what did you manage to do? And you go, oh, well, I was pretty good at, I was good with kids. Great, tick, okay, good with kids. I was quite romantic. Fantastic, great. I was a good driver. Oh, okay. And he goes through the list, he or she. They go through the list, and then they say, what were you really shit at? And they go, oh, you go, oh, I didn't have much discipline. I wasn't very disciplined. Right, check. And I ate too many cakes. Oh, okay, check. And whatever it is that you struggled with, or I lived in my mind. And then there's a row of people next to you, and they go across and they go, right, who wants to play the mum of this person? And someone goes, me, I'll do it. I've been down there before, I'll do it. And the next soul goes, someone, he said, and who's playing the dad? Me. Okay, great. Now, what you've got to remember, if I have, let's say it's me, if I have failed at connecting to the self, at feeling love, then I'm going to need some help from my co-creator spirits here who are going to assist me to amplify that. So when I come down here, I'm not going to get a mum and dad that, oh, cozy and loving and say, oh, this is love. I'm going to get the opposite. I'm going to get two adults that go, there's your life and get on with it. And then I'm going to think they failed me. It's sad. I'm so lonely. It's hard until I learn to love. But we get down here, just like you said, Valerie, and we forget everything. So everyone, the one that's hurt you the most in this lifetime, you ask the question, how do we begin? I would say this, because I do nothing without forgiveness. I teach nothing without these fundaments. Anything you've experienced down here and the worst experience you've had, consider these people your master teachers, because I can tell you on the other side, which I've happily and sometimes not happily seen, it's very different than how it looks down here and how we conceive everything and how we believe everything to be. And these people that have squeezed you the most, and we know there's some horrors down here on earth, we know there's some tragedies that we don't even want to speak about, but those that have squeezed you the most have been your master teachers. Your job is not to duplicate the hate, the disservice, the disillusion, the bullying. It's not to duplicate it, it's to understand it, forgive, and move on. It is. And trust me, on this one, I've lived some horrors that most people don't survive. And I'm here to live to tell the tale. I'm not a victim of anything. So how do you begin? Remember, your mind is talking a lot of the time. In fact, I meet very few humans where it's quiet. Even the Dalai Lama I saw on stage, his was yapping, right? But mine was yapping then, so I didn't realize it. So the first thing is, really, really ask questions. Keep asking questions. But also when you wake up in the morning, just note down, I call them the characters, what your mind is actually saying. What's the first thing yours says when you wake up, Valerie? What does your mind say? Not how you've trained yourself or instructed. What's the natural thing your mind says when you wake up?
Well, it's I'm really checking up how I feel. And normally, it's sometimes you feel like you just had the best sleep. You have like such an amazing, I feel good. But very often, especially if you don't sleep nice, or your mommy with the kid who have like chicken pox at this moment, you're just like feeling so exhausted and tired, and you're trying to find the things what can light up, but deep inside you do feel this anxiety in a way because you're maybe just tired or just being this truthful.
Yeah. You're being honest. You're a mum of two. I have the luxury of not being a biological mum, and it's a real luxury. But when most people, you wake up and you're checking in how you feel, at least, oh God, am I tired? Oh, the kids, I didn't sleep, or whatever, life goes on. But as you know, let's say it's been a shitty night's sleep and you wake up and this starts, oh, that was a difficult sleep. You already know how that day's going. You know that, yeah? You've got everybody out there on IG. You've got your Tony Robbins. I don't need to tell you this. It's infiltrated now in the world in the last 10 years. However, there are different characters upstairs in that mind until you get back home, and they all have an opinion and an idea about something. And 2 years ago, I felt that if we actually looked and understood this chatter as characters and people that we've created so that we can deal with this world, because it's upside down, right? We've got laws that are man-made and not human-made. We have, from a very young age, being told things that we just feel are wrong. So we've got to sort this world out. How are we going to survive in it? We've got to stay loyal to our parents, do what they say. So the point being, just try to identify what's going on in there to start with. Yeah, I love some characters identify. I had one client, hers was called what was it? What was his name? He was the one that would come just and tell her, just breathe and relax. It's going to be, I'm calling the fake John the Baptist or something. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be nice, And inside she's thinking, I want to scream. And then he's like, no, you mustn't scream, you're a nice girl. So there's these characters all day long. The first thing I would say is check in who's doing what in there, because underneath there is you're there, you're brilliant. Strip off the bullshit. You know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly what you need to do.
Well, I think this kind of part of the well, at the end of the day, we forgot what the question was. No, I'm kidding. So it was like the continuation of this. What you mentioned is the feelings deep inside. You hear this voice. No, you should feel this way or that way. It's also, I think, part of duality. This is good, this is bad, this is black, this is white, but we do not realize that, at least I believe that this duality is also part of the controlling mechanism for like that was created, because every time when you step into this kind of area which you're considered to be bad, you're like toxic, now you have to be here because you're a good girl, you're a good boy. This is such a great area of really tapping into your soul, like plug into your energy and start like sucking this energy and saying, oh, to be good, you have to consume this, you have to do this, you have to do that. And that's how sometimes people don't realize, and they are part of something that is not really, even resonate with their soul power. And that's why we're ending up to suffering very often. Doesn't matter if it's financially or mentally or physical body shutting down, but it's always a sign. That's why like listening to your self-truth, it's okay to feel bad. I mean, we're human beings, and that's how we grow, through experiencing these emotions and feelings. So this, what I want to actually ask is just how to start really tapping into your true self through all these emotions, through all this duality, because it's such a very, I think, deep work. But I don't know whether you really divide it into like basic level for beginners, for intermediates, for advanced. How does it work?
I kind of go, this is the thing, why people arrive to me after they've tried it all.
Okay.
Even the Mercedes and Prozac. Let me tell you why they arrive, and I'm not going to be the popular. What I do won't be popular because it goes, like you talked about the world, the planet, how it's built up. Everything I do goes against it. I'm about truth, and truth is terrifying for all of us. Before we begin it, before we start living it, it's frightening, right? People want to keep that. Oh, I'll tell this, I want to keep that. So where to begin? I'd say take a piece of paper and write down all your bullshit. Bullshit. I have a laser beam I had since I was a kid for bullshit. And I had to strip off my own. And like I said, it does come to the mind, because even the questions you're asking, even the references you give, even the references I give, they're all linked to part of the matrix. You know what I mean? They're all linked to part of the matrix. And what I found, like sovereignty and freedom, there is a whisper there, isn't there? There's a whisper over the screen. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that today. Yes, we're doing it. We go to the gym. We got to do it. Oh, but that's actually really hurting. And I think I want to sit down. No, you're not sitting down. We're going. There's this whisper and scream going on all the time. But if you can't identify it, then you're in another matrix roller coaster. But you said something very interesting, Valerie. You said people are doing stuff, not even knowing if it resonates with their soul. Yeah, not even knowing.
I think it's like even interesting culturally wise and nation wise. There are no specific places on this planet, and we call it countries or nations, that are really have their own mindset and condition. Like of course there are more, like I would say, sovereign people. They're more conditioned, who are like following these rules, who are following this duality. I don't know, they just have to be this way, and you feel how they emotionally disconnected, and they're actually suffering so much.
But the emotional disconnection is because of living in the mind, right? Living in the mind is like your mind is driving the car, and your heart and you and your soul and everything you felt when you were 2 and 3 and 4 is sitting in the back seat, and you're just going along. So, and also, what about thinking back? I always ask people, what did you like when you were 7? What did you do where you lost all conception of time? 7, 6, 5, it doesn't matter. Or even what do you do now where you lose? Well, people live in the brain, so it's very hard for them to lose concept of time. But those that do get a moment, do their thing, sit down quietly when the kids are asleep, when the bills are paid. What is it you do where you just lose all concepts of time? And some people say things like, oh, I don't want to say it, knitting. Oh, I'm a bit embarrassed. I just like to be quiet. Whatever it is, it's vital. And like you said, right, it's vital for your feeding your soul. There's clues everywhere. When I was a kid, I used to go around to old people's houses. My nan was old. I say old, I'm old now, but you're elderly. We call them elderly.
You definitely don't look like old.
Oh, my knees are. So I used to sit and listen to them, listen to their stories. They'd tell me about the war. They'd tell me about when they were young and their marriage. And while they were talking, I'd eat all these sweets. I probably went there for the sweets. I don't know. I want to believe, my ego wants to believe I was there because I was loving to listen. But no, I probably went there for the sweets. But I do remember something. I remember that they would light up whenever they talked about the past. And unfortunately, they were sitting mostly immobilized. And that was their life, the past. And I remember even about 6 feeling like, surely the future is much more interesting. Surely there's other things like to be interested in. I didn't understand the concept of aging and their loneliness, but the mind, your basic mind, that which has been trained and programmed, it loves to live in the past. It doesn't like to be in the present, and it's terrified of the future. You asked about steps. I don't do steps with people. When they arrive, we go full in. The first thing I do is to basically digitize and read all their bullshit. Yeah. But along with the bullshit, also the power and also the triggers of what happened when. So they don't need to spend 10 years on a therapist couch. And then it's like, boom, then they get very tired, obviously, afterwards. But then we can begin breaking down the bullshit. They need to be extremely brave and courageous because I don't think we've got time on this planet to fuck about. I don't know if swear is allowed. Sorry.
Whatever. You're free to self-express yourself.
Oh, sorry, but the F word is one of my favorites because it motivates, it's funny, it's got energy. I don't feel we should be messing about, taking our time, fixing and finding, and I'm working on. What the hell are you working on? You're not a car. You're not a piece of machinery. You're a being, just, I know it's tough. And people say, oh, everybody's talking about connect. How? I'm telling you, from my perspective and how I help people, check out your mind first, because it's been BSing you all day long. It's lying to you. And under there, your heart's just desperate to tell you the truth. Desperate. And you might not want to be a horse rider. You might not want to be on the yoga mat. You might hate green juice. You can stop it.
That's what I say, like, find your own tools. Why somebody's telling this is the only way, this is my best way, and billions of entrepreneurs did it. You have to also pay me 1 million and follow this path. This is the biggest bullshit. We know it. But again, it's popular to say, oh, look, I paid this amount of money and learned these amazing tricks. So we understood that one of your hobbies is to dive into this bullshit and see the light. But, you mentioned that, find how to deal with this installed reptilian brain, how to go through it. Like, what is this quantum life reading?
What is it? What is quantum life reading? Again, it's something I just have always done and hid, and then stopped hiding, came out the closet. I've only just last year started to teach it because I was like, well, everyone's a quantum being. I'll just teach them this. Yeah, that was it. I haven't followed the models in the business. My business was created from me sitting on the floor getting £30 and giving people the contents of the universe and them going, I don't know what you're talking about. I only wanted to know if I was going to marry John. So I had to evolve from that. Everything I've created has just been created, not marketed. I've not marketed. It's all word of mouth. So quantum life reading is basically what I'm able to do, which is literally, I can feel your heartbeat right now. I can see your bile duct. I can see all your stories. I can see that's hidden, that's open. I can see your future self. All these things I can see at the same time. It's called polyphasic. Oh, I don't want to get boring. I can get geeky and boring. I don't want to. So hold on.
Just
Sorry,
yourself.
listeners.
Doesn't matter. You're not boring. I'm like
No, but
listening to you,
tuning
and
in
then
now
you're
to
like
I'm
break.
now listening. Listen to this. I'm listening to the listeners in the future listening to this. I really don't want to bore you guys. But basically, imagine that, especially women, you have been told, oh, you're a little bit intuitive. Oh, you're psychic. Oh, you're a medium. Oh, you can do Reiki. You can do all of these things. And I get very contentious because, and I can own my shit. That's why when people are studying things like kinesiology, Reiki systems, very nice if you're entering to knowing yourself, all nice. But I feel like you're wasting time. I feel like you're wasting time because you're a superhuman being. And I want to put the F word in again. It's coming in a minute. You have the capacity to do all of these things. You don't have to define yourself. I do this, I do that, I do this. One of the things also with quantum life reading, I'm teaching them how to wake up to it all. And then I'm like, go off, do it how you want, create things how you want. You're a sovereign being. I don't have a formula now for you to follow. You're awake. Go and add to this. Go and figure new things out. Come back and tell me about them. Yeah, so it's a process. It was 8 weeks. It's going to take 12 now. And to be honest, in the first week, they can read things. They're like, oh my God, this happened, this happened. I've got a question.
Yes, about what is it? What is it?
Passionate. What is it? Well, it's the ability to be able to download, perceive, and interpret information on multi-levels. So as I said, if we're going the metaphysical, I'm a shaman. Okay. What do shamans do? Okay. They have connection to the field, being quantum space, field, time, place, unlimited. They have connection to the animals, the plants. Okay. So can you have? It's just like tuning your pineal gland in. That's one of the parts. But you can only do this, by the way, from an open heart. That is the key. And that is the conundrum. To be able, I said, if we're going the metaphysical, I'm a shaman. Okay. What do shamans do? Okay. They have connection to the field, being quantum space, field, time, place, unlimited. They have connection to the animals, the plants. Okay. So can you have? It's just like tuning your pineal gland in. That's one of the parts. But you can only do this, by the way, from an open heart. That is the key. And that is the conundrum. To be able to awaken to your quantum creator nature, you have to strip your bullshit off. You need to open the heart, because the heart is the receiver. We know this since 1990s, for God's sakes, the Heart Math Institute. So once in the beginning, firstly, again, within that program, we're going to their bullshit. We're having a little route round with the bullshit. And I always say to them, if I see that they can't maturely move on, then they need to go do whatever, something else somewhere else, and come back, because this isn't a course where you're going to be in poor me and me all day. This is about affecting your world with your power. Yeah. So they have the abilities, your animals, just to be able to know what your animals are doing, just be able to touch objects and know their stories, to be able to take one breath and be inside a human's body, to be able to take one breath and be in South Africa, standing on top of the beautiful mountain, or, talking to the sharks. All of this is possible. You are the World Wide Web. You are, but not while this is on.
Yeah.
Not while this is on. This is like what do you call it on the computers? When you get a virus. This is the virus. And while this is yapping, You're going to contradict yourself, second guess yourself. It's all humans are fantastic. I love humans. They're fantastic. I'm so passionate.
I feel your passion, and I think to like summarize, to bring a little bit of framework, I think what you said, stop to fit in, is actually really liberate yourself and your superpowers deep inside. There are many tools when you like, the first step is to start BSing yourself and start to like actually stop sitting in your head, being in your mind, being like trapped into these viruses, as you mentioned now, and also starting to like, if you go back, just don't live in the back, just like think about what did you like to spend time when you was 5, 6, or 7, and really this kind of being free, feeling joy. It's all like playing, like being in the small kid mode is really what makes you free. And being just more connected with this, I think, also will contribute to start opening your heart instead of being all the time this serious, boring, must to accomplish, to do, to succeed kind of human being. And again, being trapped in the social metrics forever. Anyway.
Wow, that's
Well, yeah,
yeah.
just like
There's a lot
summarize.
there, but you know what I hear if I was listening to this? I'd hear like I think okay, definitions. One of the reasons clients have struggled, they've been trying to define me and what I do for 10 years. Are you a coach? Are you a mentor? Are you this? Are you a psychic? I'm like, just call me a teacher. It's easier.
Lovely labels.
But you know, we do need some, don't we? We live in a house, we've got an address. So let's just go for teacher. But under all that, what you just mentioned, that beautiful pot of stuff, have a good fucking cry. Beat the pillows, scream and shout, because that's what I had to do. I even cut my hair off once. I had so much suppressed sadness and rage on my journey I didn't know about. And I never threw cups and saucers. It was just all internalized, so much so I could kill. If I used to say, if I have a samurai, past life stuff, I'm guessing, I could just whip off the head emotionless. I was so disconnected from my feeling body, and I didn't know how to feel anymore. So thank goodness my journey was assisted by some metaphysical realities, not by humans, because I didn't trust humans. I didn't trust any human. But the hard way being, because even when the gods themselves would sit at the end of my bed, metaphorically speaking, or be inside my dreams and help me and try to assist my heart and soothe it, I'd be like, nope, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm going this way. So that's why it took me a long time. But have a good cry. Crying, it's like cleaning the soul. It's your heart's, it's cleaning out your heart. Have a good cry. Because what is, Valerie, under all the bullshit of people trying to look this or do this or do this or be perfect or be on the stage or get the more money? What's under there? We're little kids and we really need a hug, or we just feel not good enough somewhere, or something's happened along the journey. And really, you want a big cry. And I tell you something else to recognize, listeners, because you might have it yourself. The more defensive, if somebody questions you, the more defensive you become is going to be the measure of how much ego you have. And I tell clients, the more ego they have, the more painful this journey is going to be. The first 3 weeks will be hell. If it's moderate, they have a little up and down the first 3 weeks. But to be honest, if it's really strong, actually, they can't work with me if it's really, really strong, because it's bordering psychosis. But, there's hope. But I do like a challenge, because I say to them, mine is much stronger than yours, and it needs to be able to recognize yours. But have a good cry. What did you do, Valerie? How did you begin? How did you begin to just, you can see in your eyes, things about this world before you came to the world. We're not questioning that. But how did you make the decision, like, I want to be me? Was there one moment? Was it a synchronicity of moments? Did you decide to be you?
Well, I think you mentioned before the ego factor. This is like the biggest barrier that stays to really be who you are, because there are so many social definitions who you're as a human being supposed to be. For me, it was like I think as the awakening process was like split it into kind of stages from even being the baby and like listening to the stories what was happening when I was a baby. This was one thing, and then as a child, when I saw more than normal people supposed to see, or feeling the energies of other people and seeing the shadows and light, and being sad that no, it's not good to talk like this about people, or I understand you don't want to spend time with these people, but you must because it's your family members, your relatives, whatever. That's how the journey of being like disconnected began. And also I think fears played a lot of like roles, because I said I know I can see, but I don't want to see this because it's really seeing all these dark layers. This is not the most pleasant kind of part. And I think for me, the journey began obviously when, as I mentioned, when this wave of life is coming. For me, it was not always that I'm sitting still, right? I was like actually escaping a lot from this kind of feelings until I realized there is like pointless. You cannot escape from who you truly are. And just like, I think it was like over 13 years being on this journey of working, doing my spiritual work until I realized that, okay, there was something on an energetical level happening at the opening, this pineal gland, and so many things that I want to really understand, the brain switched on. But I think this was part of the journey when I became a psychologist and actually going, like, finding the answers to many things. Why it was this way, why it was that way. And of this journey, really understanding, okay, I actually have this kind of program still sitting inside. Instead of running away like in the past, I actually took it, went to my, and let's not use labels. Let's say therapist, energy therapist, whoever it is.
So did I. You need one when you're studying psychology. You have to be supervised. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like really going and doing healing work. And one day I did like wake up and realize, okay, this reality, I created this, but this is not who I truly am. That's why so many people asking me, why did you change your family name? I don't recognize you, like who you are, right? And then they have this all very funny assumptions about marriage, about somebody even wrote me, are you into K-pop? Like, because Kim is, Korean, and not really realizing that actually just because I just tuned in to who I truly am, and I wanted to have this power back of all my ancestors, and I was just healed a lot on a journey, and this how it's I'm still on the journey.
Yeah. Listening to you, you said quite a few things, but what stood out there is I felt a tiny kinship there, that you cannot be identified like me. I'm a bit radical. My ego doesn't. I've had to put a couple of labels on for understanding, but I still don't feel as humans. I feel like I've labeled me a quantum creator. There we go. Quantum creator. I've been saying it for 10 years. I've been using the word quantum for 10. I feel with you as you were speaking, the trajectory of the journey just shows, as well as what you have been doing on the surface of life, but all the other stuff that goes on deeper levels. And when you use the word ancestors, I'm like, yeah. The ancestors, the place we put ourselves, the way we face ourselves. You use the psychology, and I wanted to chirp in, did you actually learn something? I remember the first lesson, they said humans use 10% of their brain. It was the first big textbook lesson. I thought, oh my God, I don't, but if I stay here, I will. I really had that feeling.
Actually, we do like big textbooks. It was actually quite spiritual thing.
Oh,
Like
okay.
traditional psychology in university, because I really loved the professors we had. They had really the perspective of the soul level, spirituality was there, but it's not just like dry psychology or trying, define people based on their patterns of behavior. Of course, we had part of this, but for me, everybody takes what he or she from their own perspective. Yeah.
But what did you study? What area did you go into? Was it
Okay,
Jungian?
this episode turns to talking about myself. What did I study? I mean, of course, it just goes back to your mental and psych abilities. What is it? But also the connection of it with your emotions and feelings and identifying for yourself who you are. Like basically your identity and why people are struggling from this kind of disorders or this kind of, how can you help them from different angles, different perspectives. But for me, I cannot be just like psychologist who is like counseling based on what people, whatever, requests people have, because you do feel more once again. And sometimes you feel like, hey, it doesn't matter what you do, what you say, the person is not ready sometimes. And I cannot work with this BS things. That's why, as you said, I said, okay, yeah, I'm a psychologist, but also a movie producer. And like, yes, I'm just on this journey of creating what I feel I need to create for any kind of reason. Yes, I'm not a filmmaker, so what? Then I hire people who have clue about this, and I'm just using my abilities to bring these people together to fund it and whatever it's necessary to be. Before was the same with the events, but again, it's just a definitions. For me, what you said, that it's hard to be here, like define yourself as human being, who you are as a human being.
It's a bit like a name, isn't it? Like our names, how they change during the life cycle, whether you change it or others change it for you. And I feel like we become different variations of whatever the self is. Won't get all philosophical now.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you try to like the names part, or this career, this is like the only thing you have to do. And what really hard for me is to write this, in social, like the names part, or this career, this is like the only thing you have to do. And what really hard for me is to write this, in social media you have this bio. I don't know who I am.
I struggle with the bio.
Changes every 5 days. So what? But what can I do if I'm multi-passionate? What can I do if just like love to explore this life and this world? And I understand if people don't resonate and they just want to be great and amazing and one thing, it's their path. I have different, and I'm happy to meet on my way different kinds of people. With some we move forward, so some just step out. So who cares?
It's so beautiful, and this is all part, isn't it, of the fitting in, like even the conforming to our names, our labels. I remember in my 20s asking myself, Billy, why can't you just make one decision and be that whatever? If you're going to be an academic, be academic. If you're going to be an archaeologist, I was wondering what was wrong with me, actually, that I didn't have that one thing, and that I wanted to do, like yourself, everything. And those labels could change all the time. I thought it was beautiful. It was I thought, I used to think it was beautiful to have that one thing. Now I understand we're not all on that journey, and that journey is okay too. Yeah. So, it takes courage. I feel it takes a lot of courage to give yourself permission to figure out who you are. And unfortunately, there's a lot of great women on this planet, and women are fantastic because they are so multi-level, aren't they? They see the world so differently.
So you mentioned women. I don't forget this question. You work primarily with women. So why is it this way?
They just are the main. I have worked with men, but the women have been coming for 10 years. It's primarily women, which is interesting. And somebody once asked, I was talking to a friend, she was a marketer, and she said, okay, Billy, come on, you got to like define, it was a bio business.
Niche.
I was like,
What
I'm
is the
struggling.
down?
I know I'm supposed to do these things properly, but I'm struggling because I've only had clients from word of mouth for 10 years. I'm just now doing a little bit of okay, I'll put something out. But I looked at how much I've spent in 10 years on FB marketing. It said £197. And that's only because I lately was doing some IG. So I'm going to be marketing in a better way to reach more. But yeah, I forgot the question.
Women. Why women?
Women, why women? Because I am one probably, and they're the ones that arrive. It's
Well, I
women
just
that
like
are.
feeling also the series that we're creating, the Speak Up. It's about like women were shut up for if like for ages, and the power they have was really undervalued and suppressed because it's not great thing for social metrics. It's not great. It's really
No.
being feed in because when you just struggle deep inside of yourself and
Mm-hmm.
suppress who you truly are, that's
Mm-hmm.
a great foundation for a game
A great
or for
foundation for the
perception,
game. Yeah, for
yeah,
war, for the game, for
for
war,
everything.
for psychic mess, for incredible darkness. You take away women's rights, women's voice, women's value, women's sexuality, women's embodiment, it's a perfect. Do you know that in going off a little bit here, but in public schools, the system. I'm like you. I've been fascinated by everything for a long time, and from where your foundation is, I remember a Russian friend of mine said, she said, "Oh my God, of course I play the piano. It's embarrassing if you don't play being a Russian, not being able to play the piano, at least by the time you're 10." And I was like, oh, that's why I've always loved the Russians. I just love them. They're so intelligent in such a human way, in such a broad way, not to, cut and paste, but now I've gone off trail again. Point being, it's if people, you don't have to have seen everything, read everything, traveled everywhere. Just listen to the truth is really quiet and it's inside. But by just looking at things, looking around you, just asking the questions, you will see countries and places that have cut women's voice off. They're the ones where there is war, where there is hate, where there is all kinds of, we live in the West here, and they pretend like, oh, we've got it so good. We've got voting. We've got women's rights. See beneath the matrix. But first you've got to see beneath the matrix of yourself, because it's entangled, isn't it? And you remember in the Matrix film where he said some people would rather, I don't know if he said the word kill, but they will do everything to hold on to this matrix than to see the truth. And I understand that, because it can be quite frightening. But the power inside of you, dear women, dear humans, the power inside of you, it's like taking that little light into a dark room. It's so tremendous. And if one person just stands up and speaks up, it gives everybody else permission to do so. But hiding your light, fitting in, pretending you're small, it has no service. There's no service. And what did you really come here for? What did you really come here to do?
Well, exactly. I think it's a really beautiful note to, wrap up our conversation today. And I hope it's really inspired, motivated, I don't know, empowered, lighted up some people to start, as you mentioned, asking questions, become more curious about yourself, about this world, about other worlds, about our spirit that has so many facets. So comment, or if you are part of the community, maybe you want to raise your questions there or reach out to Billy directly. We will leave the links in the description box. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation. I know that maybe in this podcast it's not so often we had one very interesting episode connecting Akashic Records with legal part. This was like very interesting, really uncombinable things. You can listen to this episode. But yeah, let us know if you want to have more of this listening, the real truth. See you in the next episode.